I'll sit there. I thought about calling you this morning. I was wondering.
Okay, good morning. Good morning. Welcome. Thank you for being here this morning. We're going to go ahead and get started. We still have some chairs in here, so folks want to come on in, get in out of the sun, get under the tent. There's a lovely breeze through here. We have a few speakers for you here this morning, so we're going to go ahead and get started. I'd like to welcome Akron Mayor Dan Horrigan to the podium.
Well, thank you and good morning. I often say that the picture is worth 1,000 words, and if you come down here and look at what really the community's been able to build with the towpath trail, with the park system, with the neighborhood, this speaks volumes as to this area and how it's changed. I really want to thank our partners that have been able to come down and help with our consent decree and with all the projects we've been able to do, and you'll be hearing from them in just a few minutes. As Akronites, we are very familiar with, since 2014, the City of Akron has been under the strictest federal consent decree in the country. We were tasked with completely overhauling our combined sewer overflow system with the goal of drastically cleaning up Akron's waterways, and that's exactly what we've done. And to date, we've completed 24 of 26 projects, and we are preparing for the 25th to begin in the next couple of months, and that's the North Side Interceptor Tunnel that will take place just north of me here about a mile. And after we've completed that tunnel, we'll be treating and capturing, an outstanding 99% of wet weather flows. And that means over 2.3 billion gallons. I want to let that sink in. Over 2.3 billion gallons of water that previously went unchecked back into our waterways is now being treated and released into the waterways. And this is an incredible accomplishment and one we should all be extremely proud of as a community, and I think that deserves a round of applause. But we also know that this achievement has not come easy. It's been unbearably expensive to Akron and its community, and the cost is over $1 billion to be exact. And that brings us to today. There's one last project in our consent decree, and that's the EHRT, and that's the Enhanced High Rate Treatment Facility that we're calling today. The EHRT would be built right behind me here in this beautiful hillside, forever altering the towpath trail and disrupting this beautiful new neighborhood. Instead of those beautiful trees we get to look at, these neighbors would be forced to look at an unsightly industrial building. And that's not the worst part. The EHRT would cost roughly $209 million to build and would only treat potentially, I say this potentially, 3 overflows a year. For context, we've not had an overflow at this site, and I hope I don't jinx myself, in over 498 days. In fact, 500 days will be Thursday. So in that time, the EHRT would have sat here useless, just waiting, wasting our residents' hard-earned money with no environmental benefit. Our modeling data shows that if we have built the EHRT, we would have to raise sewer rates 20% higher than if we don't have to build it. And quite frankly, I cannot justify this expense to our residents. Akron has done our part to clean up the waterways. We've often gone above and beyond what we were asked to do, and now we're asking for a fourth and final amendment that will allow us to eliminate this unsightly structure and do several more affordable, more environmentally friendly, beneficial projects instead. To date, the Ohio EPA has said that they agree with us, and we are very grateful for their willingness to work with us. However, we're struggling with the US EPA and the Department of Justice to see reason and offer their support to our amendment. Yesterday, the City of Akron submitted a formal dispute with the United States Environmental Protection Agency over the Fourth Amendment. They are now on the clock to respond to us within 45 days of that submittal, and that's where I'm calling for this community to help. I need all of you to lend your voices to this fight. If you don't want to see your rates skyrocket even more, if you don't see the value in this building, if you, like me, think Akron has done our fair share, then get involved. I'm asking everyone, please visit AkronWaterwaysRenewed.com, and we'll provide that link. to learn more and send a pre-written email to U.S. EPA Administrator Michael Horrigan. This is our time to rally together and to say, enough is enough. And join me and join everyone in Akron, and let's protect Akron and its waterways. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. So Jake made me remind everyone, we have fresh Akron water over here for you, so please grab a water bottle on your way out. We know that this burden has not only fallen on Akron residents. We know that it also impacts the communities around us. So today, I'm excited to welcome Summit County Executive Eileen Shapiro to speak on behalf of the county.
Good morning, everybody. How is everybody today? Is this not a beautiful day in Akron and Summit County? Look at the sun shining. It's a beautiful thing, and you get to see the gorgeous landscape behind me as well. So I want to thank you for coming today, and I want to thank you for your interest in this project. To have a clean, safe, and beautiful city, county, we need to all work together. This is part of our quality of life. It is part of making sure that we are ensuring the future for our kids, for our grandkids, for our families, and for our businesses to be able to thrive here. We know that attracting people to come live in this community, a great deal of that component is about the quality of life. So I look at it from this perspective. Look at it big picture. Collectively, we're working to improve water quality issues across the county, improving quality of life and economic opportunity. And in addition to the amazing work and the financial commitment that the City of Akron has put into water quality, my office has been working positively with our engineer, Al Brubaker, and have put together a stormwater district positively impacting some of the long-standing issues in our troubled areas. Add to that plan and all of the things that are going on here. By the way, we have whitewater rafting in Cuyahoga Falls with the work on the Porch Dam. Add to all of this, the plan which is being designed now to improve water quality in Akron, Hudson, Peninsula, Springfield, and Lakemore. That's pretty incredible if you stand back and take a look at where we are positioning our community with the hard work. And I've got to take a minute and thank Mayor Horrigan, his predecessor, the teams that have been working for years here in the City of Akron to make this problem, what did you say, 94 out of 96? That's a pretty damn good batting average, folks. Let's go ahead and thank if I didn't couple that with the Cuyahoga Valley National Park, which attracts millions of visitors today. We're going to hear from our leader of our parks today. But I've got to tell you, that it couches Peninsula, which is beautiful. It is a major attraction that brings millions and millions and millions of people every year to our community. So how about if we help communities like that so we can spread, like Peninsula, so we can spread and enjoy not only the beauty and the quality of life. Do you all feel better when you walk through the parks and if you had a bad day?
Absolutely.
Or take your kids or your family? So spending some time, energy, and money and resources to be able to make a difference like that across our community, I think is well worth the investment. It will also ensure the health and safety for our low-income residents, especially in Akron, Springfield, and Lakemore. They just don't have the resources to be able to do this on their own. So this plan, the City of Akron, Summit County, and the communities that are involved will address persistent daily pollution into the Cuyahoga watershed in those areas and will result in wastewater being treated to a better quality than this, what is it, HEHRT? I can't get that straight, okay? But at the end of the day, it takes a plan that is going to cost a whole lot of money and put it to a better use. And we need all of you that are here today, your friends, your neighbors. I live in the City of Akron. I pay that water bill just like everybody else does. But it's all spread across our community. We are all entangled. And this project, to me, is just another way that we have proven the difference that we can make if we work together. So sending that message through whoever it is, the agencies that you see here, find out how you can get involved and get on the phones, make those calls, make your neighbors aware, and let's send a message that we really think Akron has made a lift on this and we have a better plan to go forward. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Executive. So we know that this project hasn't been done just by Mayor Horrigan's administration. It's been done hand in hand with our Akron City Council. So today I'd like to welcome Akron City Council President Margo Somerville. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning.
I want to acknowledge council members who are here and present with us. I do believe I saw Councilman Malik here, so thank you. As Mayor Horrigan spoke about the potential costs of the EHRT, I can't help but to think about our residents and how much they are already paying for this consent decree. As we know, the cost of living has only continued to go up since the EPA made Akron agree to the terms of this contract. Everything is more expensive, from our groceries to our gas to the equipment that will be needed to build this massive and useless facility. Our community is already struggling to pay the sewer bills, and as we know, soon enough, there will be another school levy to support. And property taxes are set to go up again. Asking Akron residents to pay even more for something ultimately that isn't even necessary is simply too much for them and for all of us to bear. When will enough be enough? When residents have to choose between their rent or their sewer bill, or cutting off the electric or the water. Akron has done our part to clean up the water. We need to be able to focus on the concerns that most worry our residents, such as public safety and our roads. That's where any extra funds should be going, not to this building. The EPA is one of the most powerful entities in the nation, and that means they have the power to either crush Akron under this unnecessary weight, or they can help us ease this burden. The current EPA proposal would simply hurt those who are already hurting and put unequitable burdens on the most disadvantaged right here in Akron. So I'm asking, please join us and ask them to reconsider Akron's proposal and to give Akronites a break. Send your emails today and share with your family and friends about making their voices heard. Let the EPA know that Akron isn't going down without a fight. Thank you. Thank you, President Somerville. So we know that this burden doesn't only affect Akron residents and our surrounding communities, it also impacts our business community. So today we're happy to welcome CEO of the Greater Akron Chamber, Steve Muller.
Thanks, Stephanie. County Executive Shapiro, when we sort of called out Councilman Wilhite as well. Thank you for being here today, for all the work you've done in this space as well. So I'm also here in support of the City of Akron in seeking this amendment. I also share the concerns expressed by so many others already in asking about reconsidering the EHRT and asking the EPA to think carefully about what this decision means for all of us here in Akron. And as an organization, the Greater Akron Chamber works on behalf of the business community to make sure that the region's broader set of stakeholders see the economic growth and prosperity that we need in this region. And the work that the City of Akron has done since 2014 to respond to the consent decree has been remarkable. The project that they've done, the impact they've had, these infrastructure projects are really important to our community, to sustainability, to our environment, and to the way we attract people and businesses here. There's two concepts that are really familiar to my business colleagues and any student in economics that I wanted to sort of mention here today. One is the law of diminishing returns, and the other is the concept of opportunity cost. The law of diminishing returns talks about the additional incremental value you get from additional investment. When we think about this project, as you can see so well illustrated in this chart here, this additional $209 million is going to give us just 1% more capture than what we have with the projects lined up already. So 20% more cost for 1% more value doesn't make a whole lot of economic sense from our perspective. Secondly, the idea of opportunity cost. When we make expenses on one thing, we forego expenses on something else. So if we think about what we need in our community, we've done a great job with this project to date and to the commitments that we have, but $209 million could do a few things for us as a community. It could pay for fully paid scholarships, summer internships, to prepare our students for careers for every senior in Akron Public Schools in their perpetuity. We invested that money today. $209 million would easily fund a new North High School, the planned Kenmore School investments, and other school construction needs that we have. $209 million could go a long way to investments in converting sites and buildings in Akron for attracting jobs and businesses to the region. $209 million would help us jumpstart and catalyze huge wave of innovation for our polymer industry in our community, one of our legacy strengths in this community. $209 million could easily establish college scholarships for every graduating senior from APS over the next 25 years. And $209 million can provide startup grants for more than 4,000 small businesses to bring jobs to our neighborhoods and to our community. So there's a lot we could do with that money versus 1% more capture, which is, we're already far beyond where lots of other folks are in this space. We know more than we did 15 years ago when we put this consent decree together. Changes in technology and improvements in what we know about what our current system can do and what we really need to be considered here by the EPA. Think about, we signed this agreement in 2009, just 2 years after the iPhone was created. Think about all we learned in the last 15 years or so to create the iPhone 14. We know a lot more now than we did before. This project can be redefined and should be redefined, so we don't have to make that additional investment to capture just that 1%. Economic growth is important to us, talent's important to us, our environment is important to us, but we want to make sure that we're making the investments in the right places, and so we are calling on our business community to also support the call for this amendment with the EPA to allow us to shift the requirements of the project and reduce this unnecessary cost for our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. So we've covered business, we've covered residents, we've covered our surrounding communities. The last big piece is obviously the impact on the environment. And so today, to speak about that, we have Strategic Advisor to Mayor Horrigan, Emily Collins. Thank you all for being here. I want to note that we're also joined by two of our parks colleagues, Lisa King with Summit Metro Parks and Ivan Kasovic with the National Park, both in support, and we really appreciate your presence. My name's Emily Collins. I am Mayor Horrigan's Strategic Advisor, and have been in that role for about 1.5 years after spending 18 years as a public interest environmental legal advocate. And I've done that in New York, Texas, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, and Ohio. I'm really proud to be home and working for a city that has really led the way in the renewal of the Cuyahoga River. In Akron, I think you all know this, we've been profoundly shaped by our waterways. And when it comes to being a gateway to the national park, we know that improving recreational access and opportunity to our waterways for everyone has to be our primary concern. We're working to do just that with the elimination of unnecessary and overly burdensome infrastructure and focusing on wise investments into bacteria reduction that are otherwise impacting the Little Cuyahoga River and the center of our national park every single day. It's not only the overhaul of our sewer system that demonstrates our commitment to creating a truly public natural resource of the Cuyahoga River watershed, but also our work to free the falls under the Gorge Dam. All of this work acknowledges and embraces our necessary role in creating a region that's safe, resilient, beautiful, and healthy for all. Now, with the US EPA on the fence about the last project of our consent decree, we had to ask ourselves fundamental questions about our goals. Namely, what will provide the most benefit to all our residents with the least burden to the most disadvantaged ratepayers among us? I think you've already heard that from a cost perspective, we have a choice. The Ohio Canal Interceptor Tunnel, located right behind us and to downtown, we spent about 68 cents for every gallon of control that we achieved. For the EHRT, which will be behind me, and it would occupy the entire footprint all the way from where we're standing to, you might notice some folks who are back in safety vests behind me,
all the way back there. It's a very long way. That would cost us $3.37 per gallon. Compare that to the 68 cents per gallon that we spent on the Ohio Canal and Receptor Tunnel. So if we have to build the HRT, as you already heard, rates would have to be increased about 20% higher than if we didn't. But also from a water quality perspective, we have a choice. Do we spend precious public infrastructure dollars on removing bacteria entering the river during times when the flow rate of the river is unsafe? Recreational access is restricted during those times. That would only be about 3 times a year. Or do we remove bacteria that's creating a health concern every single day by eliminating failing septic systems into our waterways? And that would only be for about 1/4 of the cost. So we believe, along with the Ohio EPA, along with everyone you've heard from today, that we should once again use the smart and cost-effective solution to water quality that benefits everyone every single day. I hope that you'll join us, and thank you all for being here.
Thank you. At this time, we'll take questions from media. If you have questions for any of our speakers, feel free to just shout them out.
Let me acknowledge a couple of things. First, one, our friends in Peninsula Township, thank you for coming down and supporting this effort, and also acknowledging the role in the federal courts in all this too. They've done a very diligent job of examining our first couple of amendments and looking at the third, and certainly willing and looking forward to presenting, obviously, the courts and the judge with another, what we think is a better project that is more environmentally sound and obviously with better benefits. So more than happy to take any questions, and if they're directed to somebody else, we'll obviously bring them up here too. Dave?
Mayor, if this project isn't built, we just heard something about what can be done for 1/4 of the cost. Can you elaborate just a little on that?
All of the plans aren't done, but as Emily talked about a little bit, there's a biological impact to the sewer system that would come from other communities, such as in Springfield, in Lakemore, and in Peninsula. When it comes to septic systems, we've been willing to partner with the county and with those communities to reduce that, and we think it's a better impact to water quality, especially after you look at the small smidgen of what the $209 million may do to water quality. We think we can spend a significant amount less than that to be able to make the water even a little bit better. The $209 million, really, and I said this even in the article, even if they offer to pay for it, I think I'd say no. It's just not a good use of resources, and I don't know any community that's willing to turn down $209 million, but it's just not a good use of the dollars. Anna?
What is the U.S. EPA saying as to why it's needed?
A couple of things. One, so we signed a consent decree, which is obviously a legal document, and I won't get into the legal parts of it now, especially with as many lawyers that we have around, and I don't want to say anything that's not perfunctory to that part of it too. We have, and this is special thanks to the team. Eve Belfance, Chris Luddle, the comms team, Emily, and people that have worked for the mayor's office before. They have been working diligently, almost like on a weekly basis, in meeting with the EPA and the Department of Justice, proposing different things, going back and trying different ideas. Their stance is that we have 0 overflows. 0 is really, really good because there's nothing. And we feel, especially if you look at the number of consent decrees that are in around the country, and it numbers around 700 plus, a number of them have overflow allowability. They're allowed to overflow a certain amount, which is that was their consent decree. We're at 0. And the impact of going from 0 to possibly 3, but like I think every speaker has said before this, the data is much better now than it was X number of years ago. And I remember the first project that we did when I was still on city council was RAC 40. And if there's an engineer in here that can correct me, go ahead. And it was very little cost. We didn't get any money from the federal government, maybe some study money to be able to do it. And RAC 40 is a storage basin right down here on Cauga Street and captures X millions of gallons of overflow. That corrected about 33% of the problem. So to Steve's point, we spent the first $25 million to correct 33% of the problem. Every dollar cent has been hit that law of diminishing returns. Now you have this, where the last $209 million is going to capture at best 1%. To me, I think that the federal government should not be forcing communities to do things that are not cost beneficial. And we've proven them. We've given them data that says this would be better, and that's our stance with them, and that's what we filed yesterday. Next question. There's got to be another one. Tom Smith, even though you work for the city, but go ahead.
Could you actually just not on the $209 million, how much it's going to cost to maintain and operate this facility
Yeah, I don't have that number at the top of my head, but I'm sure you're going to provide it to me. So if you want to tell me the number, I'm more than happy to tell everybody. I think it's north of.
How many people do you have to have on staff just to run it, whether you do or not?
A few extra staff, Doc.
Huh?
A few extra.
It's going to cost a significant amount to be able to maintain that forever. Yeah, and when you look at, like I said, when you can picture this, and I grew up about a mile away from here, and we would walk across the high-level bridge, and they had this giant, pipe that would dump literally raw sewage after heavy rain into the river. We are paying for 150 years or 100 years of industrial policy. And I do want to acknowledge that Councilman Jeff Fusco at large is here too. Thank you for coming, Jeff. I appreciate it. On top of that, from 1978 onward, we've taken the responsibility of the Clean Water Act in 1972 to clean up Akron's waterways to the tune of about $1 billion. This is our chance, and this is our point of saying, enough is enough. $1 billion is a lot of money. And I applaud the community for stepping up and being able to do that. As we've improved these waterways, you've seen the recreation improve. You've seen people, I can't tell how many people are using this path and the national parks and the metro parks every single day. Let's not ruin it. Let's not ruin it for them. Jeff?
Mayor, for all of us here and for folks out there, and Stephanie, you'll probably give us some direction on this, but how can we help you in terms of making sure that the folks at the EPA understand how important this is, and secondly, that everyone in the community understands how important it is?
I think the easiest way, especially for legislative bodies of other communities, is to pass resolutions in support of our proposal to be able to do something. Any even boards of metro parks and the national park, but I'm not sure on the timing of that part. Any boards and commissions that can support this to save that, we would encourage, and we'd be more than happy to get you the information for the body of that resolution. And also, your second question was, there's Akron, we'll provide Akron Waterways Renewed.com is to send a letter, it's right up here, to the EPA administrator, and we need to put as much public pressure. And this is not a personal thing, it's not anybody, the personalities involved. This is about the 190,000, 200,000 residents in the city of Akron, plus the community, that are going to end up having to pay for more for very little benefit. The job of us is should be using those dollars and those resources as wisely as possible. This is the 26th project. It will also probably be the third most expensive in the entire consent decree. We have 3 projects taking up roughly $700 million in all of that. Better data, better ideas. I think we can clean up the water a little bit better.
Mayor, would you say that there's also a cost to not doing this? The way, so that it is...
Yeah. I think Steve did a pretty good job of the opportunity cost of not doing that, even though it would be water and sewer funds. There are resources that are finite. And this will transition into next year, into these agreements. I mean, the work is not done. Our AFO date, it's all supposed to be operable by 2026. And when you look at the number of projects, from 2009 to now, we actually started with BRAC 40 in 2007. In 16 or 17 years, how quickly Akron was able to do that, that was crunched in there in a very tight time frame. Other communities have gotten longer to be able to do that. It's been $1 billion in 17 years to really take all of that capture and put it underneath, treat it. We've expanded the capacity of the plant to 280 million gallons a day. And like I said, I hate to jinx myself. We haven't had an overflow in 498 days, and it looks pretty good today. That's real data. It's not 10 days, it's not 20, it's not 30. It's 500 days. 500 days of data, and taken into the intensity of storms. They're shorter and they're a little bit heavier. There's an impact to climate to this. That's given us better data to put those better decisions out there to help communities like Springfield and like Peninsula to reduce that bacterial flow into the water. So, yes, ma'am.
Can you talk again about the financial impact that this would have on the average Akronite?
Yeah.
And
We don't have specific details, but and I said this in the article too. It's not when rates go up. It's not if, it's when. At some particular, adding this into it would be a 20% increase more to be able to do that. Those are real dollars that are coming out of people's pockets every day. As Margot so passionately talked about, the residents and the need of our community, you don't want to have people make a decision, should I pay my rent or should I pay my water? We put a significant amount of resources into Akron Cares to help people not only through COVID, but post. When it comes to struggling with employment or housing, we need to be able to, I don't want them to have to make that decision. And to go to them with a 20% rate increase on top of, that's only going to capture 1%, that's indefensible for me. One more from Brian Nelson. Go ahead.
I just, maybe a point, if you want to comment.
Sure.
Piggybacking these other projects that you're willing $40–50 million of investments to make. These projects need done, regardless of whether you can redivert this money. And the question is, for particularly when we look at these communities, the affordability. So we're really talking about the need to do.
Listen, I think all of us have
60
talked
million.
about this in the past 8 years, about collaborations in our DNA. We're not going to get it done alone. We've worked with a number of communities across Summit County and even outside, but particularly very good with the executive's office in trying to impact other communities to be able to reduce those costs. There's an impact to us also as we do that, and so the willingness to be able to do that. We're not on an island here. The sewer system is connected. Water flows to the river. That's engineering. And I'm not the engineer in the room, so don't quote me on that part of it. So eventually it's going to get there. So being able to help those communities and impact the park system and Akron, I think it's a win-win for everybody. Listen, I appreciate everybody taking the time to come down here tonight or today. Please feel free to grab some water and enjoy some time down here. And make sure that you join us in this fight. And go to AkronWaterwaysRenewed.com. Let your council people know. Let us know. And let's send a message loud and clear to DC and to EPA that we've had enough, and this is a good alternative to those projects. So thank you again.